For thousands of years, humanity has navigated the river of time facing backward. We've judged the hazards of the future solely by the wreckage of the past. We built levees after the flood, regulated banks after the crash, and mobilized armies only after the invasion. This methodology assumes the future will essentially look like the past, just bigger or smaller. But in our modern era, an age of hyper-connected, non-linear systems, this review approach has become a liability. The threats we face today, from the sudden collapse of ocean currents to the flash crashes of high-frequency trading, are not just random accidents. They are systemic phase transitions. We are now witnessing the dawn of a new era, the age of the Algorithmic Oracle. These are AI systems that don't just forecast, they detect the latent, high-dimensional signatures of a world preparing to rupture. To understand how an algorithm can predict the unpredictable, we have to abandon the standard view of the world where extreme events are just rare deviations from the average. For decades, risk management was dominated by the black swan theory, the idea that catastrophes are random, exogenous, and fundamentally unpredictable. But a new school of thought is challenging this, the theory of dragon kings. While a black swan is a random roll of the dice, a dragon king is a meaningful outlier generated by specific physical mechanisms like positive feedback loops and synchronization. These dragons grow in the basement before they break down the door. Because they are endogenous, meaning they grow from within the system. They leave a trail. They breathe. And advanced algorithms are finally learning to hear that breath. The primary signal these oracles look for is something called critical slowing down. Imagine a stable system as a pendulum. If you push it, it quickly returns to the center. But as a system approaches a tipping point, whether it's a forest dying or a market failing, it loses its resilience. The pendulum becomes sluggish. It takes longer to recover from small shocks. Traditional statistics often miss this, but deep learning architectures like AWSNet are being trained on a universe of models, millions of simulated collapses, to recognize the geometric shape of a coming catastrophe. They don't need to know the specific physics of a stock market or a rainforest. They just need to see the topological signature of a fold bifurcation appearing in the data. In the financial world, this creates a fascinating and terrifying paradox. Financial markets are what we call the Ouroboros of science, the snake eating its own tail. Unlike trees or ocean currents, traders read the forecasts and changed their behavior. This leads us to the Oedipus effect. In Greek tragedy, Oedipus brings about his terrible fate specifically by trying to avoid it. We saw a version of this in the 2010 flash crash, where nearly $1 trillion vanished in minutes. It wasn't caused by a war, but by the synchronization of high-frequency trading algorithms. When the oracles of these firms all detected a risk signal simultaneously, they all pulled out at once, creating the very vacuum that caused the collapse. As we move toward an algorithmic monoculture, where everyone uses the same AI models, the oracle might actually manufacture the disasters it was designed to prevent. Yet, when we look at ecological systems, the stakes are even higher. We are approaching tipping points that are irreversible on human timescales. AI models integrating decades of satellite data are now suggesting that the Amazon rainforest could reach a point of no return as early as 2050. Even more concerning is the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, or AMOC, the Great Ocean Conveyor Belt that keeps Europe warm. While traditional climate models are often conservative, AI systems using reservoir computing are detecting a wobble in the current, suggesting a potential collapse window between 2040 and 2065. The AI is effectively hearing the spinning top start to fail before the human eye can even see it tilt. This predictive power extends into the chaotic swirl of human politics and health. Projects like GDILT monitor global news in over 100 languages, creating a real-time nervous system for the planet. By using graph neural networks to model the world as a web of actors and events, researchers have successfully predicted civil unrest and violent protests days before they erupted. In the world of biosecurity, we saw the ultimate validation of the oracle during the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. An AI firm called Blue Dot alerted its clients to an unusual pneumonia in Wuhan on December 31, 2019, nearly a week before the CDC issued its first warning. By analyzing global airline ticketing data, the AI correctly identified the next cities at risk before a single case was confirmed in those locations. But as these black box models become more accurate, they create an epistemological crisis. If a deep learning model predicts a disaster because of a subtle correlation in 10,000 dimensions that no human can understand, do we trust it? Can a government justify a radical intervention, like evacuating a region or freezing a market, based on an unexplainable algorithmic output? We are facing a trade-off between accuracy and interpretability. We may have to choose between understanding the disaster and surviving it. This is why we are seeing a shift in governance, like the EU AI Act, which tries to regulate systemic risk by requiring adversarial testing for these powerful models. Ultimately, the Algorithmic Oracle is forcing a fundamental reimagining of human agency. We are transitioning from being the managers of crisis to the curators of probabilities. The challenge of the 21st century will not be a lack of warning, it will be the wisdom to act upon it. We must learn to trust the unseen computation enough to avert the disaster, while retaining the skepticism to ensure we do not become the architects of our own self-fulfilling doom. We are no longer just watching the future happen, we are beginning to negotiate with it. If you want to understand the hidden patterns shaping our world and stay ahead of the next Dragon King, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. We're tracking the evolution of AI every week. What do you think? If an AI told you a disaster was coming but couldn't explain why, would you believe it?